Hello everybody, Corey here. I'm going to go over the trades and holdings for the YieldMax single stock ETFs. Just a reminder, I'm not a qualified licensed investment or financial advisor. I'm here to just gather the data, present it to you so you can make your own decisions. YieldMax ETFs are extremely risky. Please make sure you know what you're investing in before doing so. All right. And actually, we only need to be here for one stock, as the rest of these trades we will see on the holdings tab. All right. So AIYY and AMD, we don't have any trades for either one of those there. AIYY has a short call that expires Friday with a $29.50 strike price. We closed today at $29.46. So we are only 4 cents away. So it looks like for this short call, we only have about a 2 cent upside. Of course, if we do go above that, we could get a little bit more upside on the synthetic, since we are now below. Well, not just because we're below it, but we are below the synthetic strike price now, 2% here. But anyway. Sorry, I should have brought a drink in here with me. All right, AMDY here. We have a short call, expires Friday, 170 strike price. We are currently 4% below the strike price there. Looks like we have a possible 67 cent upside. If we go to AMZ, so they added 230 contracts to the synthetic and the short call with the strike price of 180. We're currently below that strike price by 1%, or $1.67. The other strike price here is $177.50, and we are over this one by 84 cents. The majority here of our short call contracts is sitting at that 180 strike price. So we're looking at about 21 cent upside for that short call there. For Apple, there weren't any trades there. They have a short call that expires Friday with 192.50 strike price, which we are already over. So we're over at $1.53. So no upside for the short call itself. And then we have Coney here. So they added 2,100 contracts to the synthetic position, and then they created a new short call that will expire this week with a 245 strike price. We are currently underneath that by 6%. We also have the short call with a strike price of $235. $35. We're underneath that 2%, but this is where the majority of our contracts are sitting. So we have 24,000 contracts here. So we only have about a 33 cent upside for the short calls. If we move on down to Dizzo has no trades for today, nor did Phoebe. But Dizzo here has two short calls that expire Friday at 103 and 104 strike price. We've managed to get underneath the 103 strike price, so we're at 102.77 currently. So we're only underneath that one by 23 cents. Then we have the 104 strike price. We're underneath that $1.23, or 1%. That's where the majority of our contracts are, so we have about a 21 cent upside for that short call, or for the short calls. Phoebe here, we have two short calls that expire Friday. We have one with a $470 strike price, which is where the majority of our contracts are, and we're already over this by 2%, or $7.49. We also have a short call with a strike price of $42.50. We're underneath that by 1%. but that's only for 40 contracts. So there is no upside for the short calls. Of course, the stock could still go up some if the synthetic market value or the value is more than the amount that the short calls are going down. Let's see. So GDXY here, we have 275 contracts here that they added to the synthetic and the short call with the $36 strike price. We're underneath that by 1%, which is only 49 cents. This is also where the majority of our contracts are. Then we also have a 36.50 strike price, and we're underneath that 3%. It looks like we have about a 24-cent upside for the short calls for GDXY. All right, so let's move on to GUI. They added 75 contracts to the synthetic and the short call with the 175 strike price. We have 3 short calls here. We have 172.50, which we're already over by 67 cents. This is where half of our contracts are. Then we have the 175 strike price, which are under 1%, which is where the majority of our contracts are. And then we have the 177.50. We're underneath 2%, but we only have 95 contracts there. So I don't know that we really have, we might have a few cents, I don't know, 3 or 5 cent upside here for the short calls themselves. But more than likely, if the stock goes up, it's probably going to be due to the synthetic position here. JPMO, they added 25 contracts to the synthetic and short call. The short call is a 202.50 strike price. We were able to get underneath that today. But let's see. We're at 201.82, so 18. So we're underneath this by 68 cents. Looks like about a 7-cent upside here for the short call. Going down to Murney and MSFO. We don't have any trades for either one of those. We do have a short call here for Murney at 147 strike price. We're over that strike price by 1% or 82 cents. So no upside here for this short call. And then we have MSFO down here. We have 4 short calls. Luckily, we're underneath all of the strike prices, but we have 415, 422.50, 425, and 437.50. We are underneath those anywhere from 0 to 5%. So that 0% one there with the 30 contracts, we're underneath that one $1.48. The majority of our contracts are sitting at the 422.50 strike price. So it looks like we have about a 24-cent upside for the short calls. And then we have Misty here. They added to the synthetic position, and then they created a new short call for this week. A new short call for this week, 1,700 strike price. So if we look here now, we have a total of 5 short calls. We are already over the first 2 strike prices, which is where the majority of our contracts are. The strike price is 16.10. That's where a majority of the contracts are. 965 contracts to be exact. Then we have the 16.15 strike price, which we're also over. And then we also have a 1,700, 1,770, and an 1,800 strike price. So we're underneath those 4, 8, and 10%. So obviously there's no upside here for the short calls, though the stock could still rise some based on the synthetic position. Move on to Nestle. They added 15 contracts to the synthetic and the 640 short call. We have two here, 640 and 645. We're underneath those 1 and 2%, and we have about a 10-cent upside here for those short calls. If we move on to NVD, that added 105 contracts to the synthetic position and created a new short call with a $1,185 strike price, which we're currently underneath by 3%. We are over the strike price of $1,135 by 1% or $15. And then we have a third short call with a strike price of $1,215. This is where the majority of the contracts are sitting, almost 5,000. And we are underneath this strike price by 5%. It looks like we do have some upside with about maybe, I don't know, $1.30, $1.40 or something like that for the short calls. If we go down to OARC, they added 280 contracts to the synthetic position and created a short call with a strike price of $43.50. We are currently underneath that strike price by 52 cents. The other short call has a $43 strike price, and we're underneath that strike price by 2 cents. So maybe 1 cent increase for OARC for the short call, but could be more for the synthetic position there. If we move on down to PayPay, we don't have any trades for today. We have 2 short calls, though, that expire Friday, and 1/3 of those shares are sitting as the $63 strike price, which we are over by 1% or 46 cents. And then 2/3 of the contracts are sitting at the $64 strike price, which we're under 1% or, 54 cents. So I don't know, there could be a few cent upside for the short calls here, but it wouldn't be much. But again, it could still go up due to the synthetic position. And I just remembered, maybe that's why Squee had trade. Yes, because remember they had 80 too many on Friday. Sorry, I don't know what I'm looking at. Yeah, remember here they closed out of 44.15, but then they opened 45.15. They opened 45.95. So they closed those 80 out. And then that's what this line is closing those 80. And that's the only thing that was actually closed out today. So if we go back over here, we can see where they added 140 contracts to the synthetic and created a new short call for this Friday with a $66 strike price, in which we're currently under 3%. Then we also have the $65 strike price, we're under 1% or 70 cents. We do have an upside of possible 21 cents for the short call here, or short calls. And then we have Tesla here with no trades. We do have 2 short calls that expire Friday, 180 and 182.50. We're currently underneath those strike prices 2 and 3%. Maybe upside of 30 or so cents for the short calls themselves. Then we have Zomo here where they added 75 contracts to the synthetic and created a new short call with a strike price of 115, which were under by 55 cents. Then we also have the 116 and 117 strike price there. I don't know. Possibility of maybe 15 or so cents for the upside here. That's just guess, just glancing over there. All right, and then we didn't have any trades here for crash, and I apologize. I changed this data after I pasted this data, so that data is not there. But we have the short put of 170, and we are currently 4% above the short put strike price, and we're at 176.29. And then, of course, we have our long call there, along with our synthetic positions. And that is it, y'all. Appreciate you joining me. Hopefully you got something out of the video. If nothing else, checking out all the strike prices and where we stand. But anyway, I will talk with y'all later. Bye.